Hello, anybody who happens to jump on tonight and catch this live, or anyone who catches it in the future, or anyone who catches it on YouTube. I just want to say good evening, good morning, whatever time of day it is when you see it. I just pray that this word is a blessing. I'm going to stick to the script, as my husband has advised. This is called Cutting Ties, and this is this was a super crazy word. So I'm going to go back to the script because I'm getting off. I want to start by saying that this will most likely be my last video post in 2022, unless the Lord leads me otherwise. This was an interesting word because it kept coming up for me over and over. I kept thinking about Cody and how he had this gift of discernment, this ability to recognize almost instantly if a person in our lives was genuine in their intentions or not. This thought kept popping into my head over the span of several days. Then one day, Cody called me while he was driving home from work, and he asked me if I thought the Lord may put something on his heart for me to speak on. So I asked him what he meant. And he told me that he kept hearing the title, Cutting Ties, and that he felt I should do a video about the importance of discerning people's intentions when it comes to relationships and cutting ties with those who have ill will or who have consistently caused harm. So initially, this felt like a strange word for me because I was hyper focused on forgiveness. But as we meditated on our lives and what the Lord has been showing us, we recognized that forgiveness does not always mean reconciliation, at least not always right away. And that cutting ties could sometimes clear the way to necessary growth. So I'll share a few scriptures that help to illustrate this point. But first, I want to give a specific example in my life. There have been way too many unhealthy relationships in my life to count. Some have been family members, but most have been people that I've selected for myself. If you watched my previous video entitled Hosea and the Prostitute, I mentioned a 3-year relationship with a man who systematically dragged me away from every core belief that I ever had about being in a relationship with God, or who I was created to be. I won't give him too much credit. I was already pretty down on myself before I met him, which is exactly why it was so easy for him to prey on what little was left of my self-worth. But when I cut him completely out of my life, 3 days later, my relationship with God was restored. He had been blocking me from spiritual growth. In fact, the relationship with him may have cost me my eternal salvation if it hadn't been cut off when it was. Who we are connected with matters. So when it comes to choosing friends wisely, the book of Proverbs has much to say. So I'll select a few scriptures, and bear with me here. Some are from Proverbs and some are from other books. Proverbs 12:26. The righteous choose their friends carefully, but the way of the wicked leads them astray. Proverbs 13:20. Walk with the wise and become wise, for a companion of fools suffers harm. Proverbs 18:24. Wounds from a sincere friend are better than many kisses from an enemy. Another version says it this way. You can trust what your friend says even when it hurts, but your enemies want to hurt you even when they act nice. 1 Corinthians 15:33. Do not be misled. Bad company corrupts good character. Proverbs 16:28. A deceitful person stirs up strife, and a slanderer can separate even close friends. So I'm going to take a slight detour here and share that I have always been an oversharer and one who talks openly and freely. When I felt that the Lord was leading me to share my experiences with others, I was both terrified and excited. Excited because I know how hearing someone share their story where they'd gone through something similar to what I had experienced made me feel less alone in the world. And because many of my experiences seem to be far from normal, it has always been a source of encouragement when I hear someone else share that they've been through it, they've survived, they've grown, and they share what they learned. It has been inspiring, even if it's just one thing that I could relate to out of their whole story. So I hoped that by sharing, maybe someone would come across a video, as the Lord has a way of leading people to exactly what they need to hear, exactly when they need to hear it. I hoped they'd be encouraged, feel less alone, or feel inspired. And if there's nothing in my story that they could relate to, maybe they would know someone who could. But I also felt terrified because I knew that being an open book would leave me open to judgment from people who don't understand why I'm sharing, or feel that these battles should be fought alone, in silence, and kept to myself. Perhaps because they would never share what they've gone through. They feel that no one should be so vocal. Or perhaps my vulnerability would attract more of the same type of people who had inflicted certain types of abuse that I was healing from in the first place. So to bring it back to the point of cutting ties, I noticed that especially when I started trying to seek God more diligently, and when I started sharing my experiences, people came out of the woodwork, and I felt that everyone was a friend. Cody did not. Cody was correct. There were many distractions and lots of confusion that could have been avoided by simply putting into practice Proverbs 3:5-6. Trust in the Lord with all your heart. Do not lean on your own understanding. In all your ways, acknowledge him, and he will direct your path. This applies to relationships as well as situations. Sometimes we need to pray about why people have come into our lives or back into our lives. We need to know what purpose they serve and what purpose we're supposed to serve. Please understand that I have been a fool many times in my life. I have run wholeheartedly in the wrong direction, and anyone who ran with me would have been following in the way of a fool. I have judged people and gossiped about people, some of it more recently than I would care to admit. But the Lord has arrested me and taught me that I have no right. If I am his, then I understand that he made every living person in his image. And I do not know the plan he has for them or the calling on their life. There could be a homeless man shooting up heroin on the sidewalk today who will be a minister to help others out of the pit of addiction a year from now. And had he not gone through that experience, he would not be where God wanted him. I say that to say we don't know what other people are thinking, feeling, or really what they've been through. Even if they're an open book, there are things they have not shared. Cody will be the first to say, I am all about sharing my experiences, not so much open when it comes to my emotions or when I'm in the moment. As much as I talk, I've probably shared about 20% of what's really going on in my head. And the same goes for others. We do not really know anybody. To be honest, most of us don't even know ourselves. And even those who have hurt us, it's not for us to judge them because they are on a path we know nothing about. If someone hurts us, we are to forgive them, pray for them, and speak blessings over them, and let the Lord do what he pleases, because we don't know what they're going through. We don't know what hurt or fear or rejection they're dealing with. We don't know what they may be projecting onto us. Cutting ties is not about vengeance. It's about healing. I know for a fact there are some people with whom I've been stuck in toxic cycles, and letting them go was the only way I could heal. And perhaps there will be a time in the future where I'm healed enough to take it and go toe to toe and love them through it anyway. Or perhaps they'll grow and we won't have to battle it out anymore. I don't know the outcome, but God does. It's not about us, people. It really isn't. The Lord has been impressing that on my heart over and over for the past few days. It's not about Mary. It's about Jesus. It's about what he desires to do for his glory. Everything and everyone was made for his good pleasure, for his purpose. He created the universe, and this is his story. We just get to be a part of it. And I am so thrilled to be included. So we must forgive, not just because his word tells us to, but because it's not about us at all. And if we harbor any ill will toward another, we are missing something big time. So I wanted to share one last story from the book of 2 Samuel, chapter 16, verses 5 through 13, and I apologize in advance if I butcher these names. But as King David, so this actually takes place in 2 Samuel. This is after David has become the king of Israel, and his son Absalom has actually tried to take the throne from him. So as King David approached Bahurim, a man from the same clan as Saul's family came out from there. His name was Shimei, son of Gera, and he cursed as he came out. He pelted David and all the king's officials with stones, though all the troops and the special guard were on David's right and left. As he cursed, Shimei said, get out, you murderer, you scoundrel. The Lord has repaid you for all of the blood you shed in the house of Saul, in whose place you have reigned. The Lord has given the kingdom into the hands of your son Absalom. You have come to ruin because you are a murderer. Then Abishai, son of Zeruiah, said to the king, why should this dead dog curse my lord the king? Let me go over there and cut off his head. But the king said, what does this have to do with you, you sons of Zeruiah? If he is cursing because the Lord said to him, curse David, who can ask, why do you do this? David then said to Abishai and all his officials, my son, my own flesh and blood, is trying to kill me. How much more then this Benjamite? Leave him alone. Let him curse, for the Lord has told him to. It may be that the Lord will look upon my misery and restore to me his covenant blessing instead of his curse today. So David and his men continued along the road while Shimei was going along the hillside opposite him, cursing as he went, and throwing stones at him and showering him with dirt. So amazingly, David seems to suggest that it is God's will for this person to curse him. So we come to a place of asking ourselves once again, do we really believe that God is the author and finisher of our faith, as it says in Hebrews 12:2? And that it is his will that is being done on earth. That despite the fact that it's our sinful nature and our shortcomings that have made the world what it is today, could God be using all of that for his glory? It's not about us. It's all about him. May he continue to reveal his hand in our lives, and may he be unveiled in the eyes of the whole world. Amen.